made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channel and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 313 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host, Luke Millette, and here's your host, Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of talking to Hayley Dorrian, and if you want to hear from a real chiropractic angel, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We are with episode 213, and we have Hayley Dorrian coming in today from the UK. And I'm really looking forward to having this chat with you guys today, with her and with my co-host, Luke Millette. He is coming in from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I'm coming in from Grand Junction, Colorado. And before we jump into this episode, I just want to set some ground standards. We do support subluxation-based chiropractic. We do protect the sacred trust, and we are the platform for free speech in chiropractic. With that being said, I want to give a warm welcome to our guest, Hayley Dorrian.
Hello there. How you doing, guys?
Fantastic.
Doing well.
Well, thank you for taking the opportunity. And before, you mentioned to me that you are not a chiropractor, but you are a chiropractic advocate. I call that a chiropractic angel. Over here, we call them CAs, chiropractic assistants. And you are married to a chiropractor and help run a facility over there. So that's a really cool perspective for you to be on the show with us today. And I'm sure you have a chiropractic story considering you're married to a chiropractor. So in regular fashion that we always open our show up with, would you mind sharing with us your chiropractic story and what influenced you to get into this profession?
So really, my chiropractic story actually started before I met my husband, who obviously is a chiropractor. At the age of 15, I was involved in a hit-and-run car accident. I was in hospital for 3 days. Whilst I was incredibly lucky to actually walk, I was incredibly bruised, particularly my elbows, because they broke the fall. And whilst the bruising healed, my neck and thoracics would have been, I just was in a great deal of pain for many, many weeks afterwards. My parents really wanted me to sort of go back into the medical side of things, but whilst I was in hospital, I just knew it wasn't really the environment that I just didn't connect with it at all. And so I looked for alternative approaches to remove the pain that didn't involve medication of any kind. And the one that really stuck out to me was chiropractic, between osteopaths and chiropractors. And so I took myself off at the age of 15 to a chiropractor. My parents were incredibly skeptical. They had the belief system that once you started adjusting, it was something that you have to keep doing. So people sort of, crack their knuckles. They kept thinking I was going to have to keep going back. And that was their belief of chiropractic. The chiropractor that I went to see was actually a chiropractor that I only saw him for a few sessions, but immediately after sort of my first adjustment, and certainly after my second, my pain just dissipated. It was just unbelievable for me. It was like a light bulb moment that this was quite something. I've having sort of struggled with it for a number of weeks. So that was my journey into chiropractic, or certainly my first chiropractic adjustment. Following on a few years later, at the age of 21, I met my now husband, who obviously at the time, and I've been with him since I was 21. So I've watched him grow on his chiropractic journey, having graduated from ACC in Bournemouth in 1998, and supported him, enabled him to build up a practice and develop his own certainty within chiropractic. I've watched him and cheered him on from the sidelines doing that.
So, what would you say makes you unique in the chiropractic world, or what makes you unique as a chiropractic advocate?
It's funny, when I obviously was watching my husband sort of develop his philosophy and his certainty coming out of grad school, I think his first few weeks and certainly his first few months, he was seeing something like 6 patrons a week. We call them patrons as opposed to patients or clients. So he would see 6 patrons a week. And I saw him really struggling with that. So for a number of years, it was supporting him, getting him to where he wanted to be. And through him and his best friend, who's also a chiropractor, Dr. Liam McLaughlin, I became very good friends with his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife. And we became best buddies. And she is a chiropractor, and she supports me in a business that we have together, where we support women and parents and families making alternative health choices. So when I met her and I was developed a friendship with her, they were going off on these courses, seminars and stuff like that. And I was always of the belief with my husband that it was his profession and not mine. I would support him, but I wouldn't be actively involved in it, apart from in the background. And one particular seminar, the UCA Spring Seminar, I was invited by my dear friend Kelly to go and hold her baby whilst she needed to do things at the conference. And being his godmother, I said yes. And for many years, my husband said, come on, let's come on these seminars, come with me. And I kept saying, nah, that's your thing. I'm happy off in the background. And when I went with her, I listened to the likes of Cindy O'Meara, Sarah and Randall Farrant, and I was just blown away. And for me, that was a very pivotal moment. I'm lucky enough to be in this profession, be a part of this community, but I realized that there are many women and many people out there that don't want to follow the medical model or don't want to be involved in it and want alternative choices, but don't know where to start and don't have that support network. And I think this is something I've learned over the last 20 years, is to develop my own certainty about who I am, not trained as a chiropractor, but living in the chiropractic world and being able to support not only my husband, but raising 2 chiropractic children as well. So I'd like to see that as a unique point, because I'm able to bring that perspective to certainly our relationship, but also to our families as well. Whereas I'm not a chiropractor and it's not something I've lived and trained by, but it's something I believe in wholeheartedly and I will support in any capacity I can.
Well, let's pretend just for a second that you were a chiropractor. What do you think would be some unique or interesting ways to try and get new patients in the door? What are some things you would try?
One thing I've learnt as a mum and almost sort of say as you do. So I had a group of mum networks around me, and there'll be things that I wouldn't do that they would do. For example, on a last day of term, they'd all take the kids to McDonald's. I wouldn't take my kids. I'd say I'd meet them at the park afterwards, and I'd take my kids somewhere else and we'd head off in a different direction. And a lot of people started, initially they didn't say too much to me, but then they started asking questions why, and I would just elaborate on why I don't do things rather than telling somebody to do something. So I figure it's about showing people a different side to health. And for me, that's how I believe in communicating with people with certainty and by living that life rather than, do this. Because some people, you have to meet people where they're at. And if they're not ready to hear it and you're bombarding them with stuff, I think it's just too overwhelming. But I think if they slowly watch you do things or they slowly become aware of how you do things, I think then that's when the questions and the curiosity comes from.
Well, I want to circle back to something I read in the bio of yours that you sent over. I think makes you quite unique is you're doing some work with the Scotland Chiropractic College, Upstart. and you'll be on the board for that college. And I think you're going to bring a lot of this mentality and sensibility into your leadership role there and to contribute to that school. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I'm really curious about that initiative that you're going to be a part of and how that looks for you.
Yeah, well, I was very honored and very privileged to be asked to join the board in 2019. I think it's about May, June time. I've never had an experience of being on a board before, so I was a little bit surprised I was asked. But again, I think it was a perspective. They wanted not just chiropractors on the board, they wanted laypersons or have an understanding of business, but understand the profession and were able to embrace it and be able to support it in the best possible way. So Ross McDonald, I think, is an incredible, he's just an incredible leader. He's incredibly passionate about this project. And him and alongside Dave Russell have just made me, they've just opened my eyes to so much, but they also guided me and supported me through the role and how I can bring value to it from my perspective. So it's been a really exciting project. It's been demanding and there's a lot of knockbacks, more than I probably could have ever imagined. And we've had, in July of this year, we passed stage 2 of the GCC accreditation, which took us a long time. And, you know, we're on momentum now, and it's just a very exciting project to be on. The board itself, we're an incredible team together. I've never quite seen the dynamic that there is. And it's just been an absolute pleasure to be able to support the college in any possible way that I can. So we hope to next year, in February, definitely, our validation will be completed with the university that we're affiliated with, called the Buckinghamshire University. And then early spring, we hope to pass stage 3 of the GCC. Late spring, stage 4, and opening our doors September 2022. So whilst it seems like quite a lot's happening in one go, this has been in the planning for many, many months and years. And we're just trying to get that sort of level of fruition to happen. And we're definitely gaining huge momentum as it does.
Well, before we jump into the next question, for viewers that are out there that don't know what GCC stands for, can you just give us like a quick
Sorry, yeah. GCC is the General Chiropractic Council. So it's our regulated body here in the UK. I'm sure wherever you are, I'm not familiar with your regulated bodies, but I'm sure every state or every area does. And yeah, we're guided by the GCC.
Thanks.
So earlier you mentioned that you'd rather take your kids to the park as opposed to McDonald's, which is pretty smart. But what are some other things that you like to do for not only your own health, but for your family's health?
So for me, mental health these last few years have been really, really, a really important topic for me, certainly with my kids. My kids are, obviously they're navigating their teenage years, which is always a challenge, but navigating your teenage years whilst being in lockdown, whilst learning online, having exams, it's been challenging for them. And they've been obviously isolated, separated from their friends. And for me, health, whilst I absolutely support, getting checked and adjusted, eating well, exercising, for me, positive health has been such an important part of our kitchen table of these last, definitely this year, but certainly these last 2 years as well. I find that my kids are great at doing the exercise, they're great eating well, they're great at obviously getting themselves checked and adjusted. But it's been very important that we've kept an open communication these last few months about how they're feeling and working through feelings that they've potentially been challenged with, because I think for teenage kids, it has been incredibly hard to navigate, not just only navigate the lockdown and exams, but also they're trying to establish who they are, and they're kind of getting told not to do this and not to be this and not to say this. And I think it's been very confusing for kids of that age and that generation. And it's something that I have been focusing a lot on is mental health talking about how you're feeling and sharing that with the wider community as well.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle. Well, I just want to touch on for our audience out there that's watching this is there's 3 types of subluxation out there. There's chemical, physical, and emotional, and they're all stressors. Thoughts, traumas, toxins are the 3 T's that can comprise that. And when people have the removal of subluxation from their spinal column or from their mind, which I call the above atlas subluxation, there's a lot going on when it comes to taking care of the full body spectrum with chiropractic. It's not just the adjustment that can help people, but it's the lifestyle that associates with that can help people. So I really believe that what you're explaining here is important for people to understand about how to not only take care of themselves and their families, but also how they might think about the chiropractic profession as a whole, as it's not just fixing something or taking something that somebody's experiencing and making it better, but it's about, opening people up to a better holistic lifestyle. And I believe that that's something that a lot of people don't know how to really translate that or communicate that. But when moms know, and they know that it's important to have a healthy family, now those things start to line up. And those things are easy for people to understand as to why you would want to have, your kids under chiropractic care. It's not just cracking bones, and if you have to go once, you have to go for the rest of your life type method. And I always try to, challenge people in a really fun way, but I say, if you went to the dentist once, would you just stop going to the dentist because they took care of your teeth once? Like, it's an ongoing thing. And with chiropractic, I always try to get people to understand that it's from cradle to grave care or from womb to tomb. People should get chiropractic care for all stages of life. And it's not just about the pain, it's about the nervous system functioning properly and the body healing properly. And, there can be absence of pain and people can still have a subluxation. So for those of you that are out there that are watching, those are some things that might help understand the conversation that we're on right now. And you've been a part of this environment, this community. What did you guys do when you first started out in practice to stay in touch with your local community, and what are you doing today to do that?
I think it was very much just we were going out into the community. We were sharing the message. So we would often have stands and places. Back in '98, there wasn't really so much Facebook or social media platforms to utilize. So it was very much my husband was going out, actually talking to people talking to people in the street. And it was just very much him and his leaflets. And that's essentially how it all started, how it started building. And then it just went on from there. He became, like I said, very certain in his message and very clear in what he wanted to, how he wanted to help people and how he wanted to support people. And it just developed from there, and it's been going strong ever since, which, we are incredibly blessed and lucky with. So it was definitely a one-man band to begin with.
So from your perspective, where do you see chiropractic finding itself in the next 20 years or so?
I really think we're at quite a pivotal stage in the health and well-being of our society globally as well. I really think it's so important that chiropractors are given the opportunity to express themselves in a way in which they feel they're able to translate that message, the philosophy, the principled philosophy of chiropractic, So I'd like to think, with many colleges opening up, and certainly the Scotland College, and we need that. We need more chiropractors being educated. We need more chiropractors, certainly in the UK. There's a couple of stats if I wrote down, if you don't mind me sharing with you.
Oh, please do.
I checked on Statista.com in the UK, and this is only up until the end of 2019. They didn't have anything current for me to take, but we currently had 3,299 chiropractors registered with the GCC, the General Chiropractic Council. And we live in a population of 68.3 million, right? So we just don't have enough chiropractors in this country to be able to grow this profession and to be able to support the masses and serve the people that we need to serve. So I truly believe we need to start back at grassroots, and we need to educate and train more chiropractors to go through the system, to sort of go through a principled education, and to be able to go out and share that principled message that we desperately need. And I know in the States there are many more chiropractors, and I'm sure you'll probably need more, but certainly in the UK, we are definitely at a stage where we are desperate. And I really sincerely mean that. Between 2018 and 2019, on the register, the difference between how many chiropractors had registered with the GCC, there was one chiropractic difference. That was it. So in 1 year, we had one other chiropractor register, taking it from 3,239 to 3,299. And that's really the scenario we're in here in the UK, and that's why we desperately need more chiropractors being educated and trained, and to be able to go out there to definitely increase the scope of chiropractic and bring it to the masses.
Well, I have a unscripted question. Just because you're not a chiropractor, you have a little inside knowledge of chiropractic, but you also have an outside perspective. What would be some advice that you would give to chiropractors to improve the profession, or what would you change about the profession if you could?
I think it's really important that chiropractors get coached and get mentored, without a doubt. I've also been coached and mentored. I've been coached by some amazing ladies in this profession. Sean Powers has been one of them for me. She was just awesome, and I can't rate her highly enough. I think it's so important that when chiropractors graduate, they still continue their training. They still continue to connect. We see a lot of chiropractors here that possibly work in a practice on their own, and they're working on their own, and they really don't have that support and that connection that I think they need. So I do truly believe that chiropractors should be mentored or coached in some capacity, whether it's in a group format or individually. And I think to stay within a tribe or a connection is again, really, I feel is really, really important, not only for them, but for the growth of the profession.
So who have been some of your heroes or inspirations in your life? And they don't have to be chiropractic based. They could be anybody. Well,
certainly my lovely best pal, Kelly Jane McLaughlin, she has, when I first had my first son, my first child, I had really only got into the profession in such a way, and I was always in the background. I was diagnosed with endometriosis. I was told that I could probably, at the age of 21, I was told I could never really conceive a child naturally, and I'd have to go through a number of years trying, and then IVF. And with a lot of support and work with her, I had a honeymoon baby, right? So it took me 5 months to get my head around that I was having a baby, but that's how I changed my life, because of how she inspired me to live and be and embrace. So my first shout out will certainly be to Kelly. Liz Anderson Peacock, I followed in the beginning, and to me, she's an absolute rock star. And then Sean is definitely, they're the ladies. Those ladies for me have really inspired me at different stages of my exposure to chiropractic, but definitely amazing ladies.
Well, it's honorable to see that you've taken some leadership from the chiropractic profession and been able to make some sense of your position now within the profession. And just to acknowledge you, a lot of times people get a diagnosis for something from a busy medical professional that doesn't really understand the dynamics of the individual. And I just want to let everyone out there know that you are not your symptoms. That is a thing that if you would have believed that your entire life, you may have never conceived. So it's important for people to understand that just because somebody says something about you doesn't mean that it's end game. That just means it's game on. And that means that it's time to go to work and to start working on yourself and to start trying to live a better holistic, vitalistic lifestyle to where you're producing a quality of life that is a standard that you agree with, not a diagnosis or symptomatology that somebody else tells you that is your identity. So I think that that's a huge part with understanding when somebody gets a diagnosis of symptomatology, that's just the start. That's where you can start winning, because now we know what the enemy is. Now we know what the thing that we have to go change is, or the thing we get to go win. And I think that a lot of times when people get that, they think of it as they lost already. And I think that that's where we can really practice the chiropractic lifestyle of eating right, thinking right, moving right, getting adjusted, and working on the physical, chemical, and emotional components of the subluxation to where the body actually has a chance to do what it's supposed to do, which is thrive, not just survive.
Right. And that's definitely what happened in my situation. I was told just a very negative after I had laparoscopy, and they just said, that's it, you're covered with it, and it's very unlikely. And it was because of Kelly that I did a lot of work then to reverse those symptoms and push forward. So I'm indebted to her for that.
So, being a CA and working in an office, are there any miracle stories that you've heard about or have seen firsthand happen in your office?
I mean, we have had a number of, and I refer back to probably because I relate more to this, but we have had a number of women coming in that saying that they haven't been able to conceive. They've tried everything. They've even tried the IVF route. And again, it was educating them about their diet, about positive thinking, and getting themselves something checked and adjusted, exercise. So sharing my story with lots of women that come into the practice, or I have done in the past, and then seeing those stories, them realizing or having that opportunity to express those stories themselves has been incredibly rewarding. And I think I relate often to those types of stories, which for me are miracles, because firsthand, that's how I see it as well.
So at this juncture in the interview, we have a few minutes left. I was just curious if there's anything we didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today that you might think is important.
I just really would love to just share about the college. I'd love to go back to that. For me, that is my passion project at the moment, amongst a few other things. But certainly, it's we just need to raise more funding. Whilst obviously we have a huge amount of donors donating at the moment, we need to get to a particular figure by next year. And so we are game on in terms of our fundraising program. But if there's any of your viewers or listeners that would be willing or interested to donate and support the college, we would love to hear from them. On our website, we've got a page, or even send us a message, and a lovely lady called Lee Dilks, who is the director of business. I can't always remember her title, but she would definitely love to hear from anybody and get in touch with regards to how anyone can help with their time, talents, or treasures, is what we say. We would really love to hear from anybody in the chiropractic global community that would willing to share.
So what website would people go to if they wanted to donate?
So www.scotlandcollegechiro.co.uk.
It's popular over there. Look, the .co.uk.
So Scotland. I got Scotland. Say that again.
scotlandcollegechiro.co.uk.
College Chiro. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, do you know the website for the clinic you work at?
So I'm we www.chiro.co.uk.
Cool. All right. So if everyone heads over to scotlandcollegechiro.co.uk, they could really use your support, and
Absolutely.
We would all appreciate that.
That'd be amazing. And just one final thing, if I may.
Of course.
Last year, I helped support Donald Francis. I think you've interviewed Donald. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that. But
no, we have.
The Wisdom of 33 was a book that Donald visualized, and myself and Naomi and two other amazing ladies, along with Donald, we put together the book, which is on sale on Amazon. But as soon as we can get on planes and fly around the world to seminars, Cow Jam and all those others, we are going to be there selling it in person, and we really hope to be doing that sooner rather than later. Because all proceeds from the book go to the college.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, Hayley, we're just about at the end of our time together. I want to thank you for being our guest today. It's nice to see more advocates because we're usually always interviewing doctors, so this was a nice change of pace.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Hayley, thank you for jumping on with us and sharing your time and your talent with us, and being a guest on Chiro Hustle. And to fix my opener, this is actually episode 313, not 213. Sometimes I get excited when I open these things up and I can misspeak too. I'm just a human, so
he gets so excited.
But Hayley, thank you for being our guest today, and looking forward to the time where we can actually see you in person as well. And I'm sure that sooner than later we'll run into you at one of these amazing chiropractic gatherings.
Sounds great. We hope to see you over in Edinburgh soon. Come and see the college.
I will, definitely.
All right. Take care,
Enjoy
guys.
the rest of your evening.
All right,
Bye now.
Bye for now.
We'll see you.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.